All right, welcome. Thank you for joining us to celebrate Sustainable Gastronomy Day. This event is a collaborative effort between World Food Forum and Extreme Tech Challenge. My name is Nancy Yuan. I am a program fellow at Extreme Tech Challenge, the world's largest startup competition for entrepreneurs addressing global challenges. Our mission is to empower entrepreneurs, creating innovative technologies to help build a sustainable future for humankind and our planet. So we are privileged to have our panelists today, passionate food waste fighters who are driving the sustainable transformation of our agri-food systems. They will share how they are fighting to eliminate food waste in their industries. So now let's meet our panelists, starting with Cristina.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm Cristina. I am the Impact and Sustainability Officer at CrowdFarming. I am based in Spain, and yeah, it's super nice to be here and looking forward to hearing from all the other speakers today. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristina. And Chef Radhika?
Hi, everyone. I'm Chef Radhika, and I'm a food waste activist, and I own 2 restaurants, opening a 3rd one very soon. We try to run a low waste kitchen, and we do that using really simple, easy techniques in the kitchen. And we actually don't really call food waste, we just call it food. And I'm looking forward to hearing from everyone else.
Thank you, Chef. And Poonam?
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. I am the CEO and founder of Daily Dump. We're based out of India. And our vision is to get everybody in India to compost, because we have, from each of our homes, we generate 60% of the dustbin is actually organic food waste. And so is in our cities. And we hope that through participatory citizen action, with saving lots of landfill emissions and also pollution that results in air, water, and the earth. So our brand is called Daily Dump.
Thank you, Poonam. And Travin?
Hi, everybody. My name is Travin Singh. I'm the founder and group CEO of CRUST Group. So essentially, based on our circular, or rather our belief in circular economy, CRUST Group is a food technology startup valorizing surplus ingredients into unique products. So we work with businesses to turn their surplus ingredients like bread and different types of fruit waste as well, and into slightly more fun products like CRUST, which is our beer brand, and Crop, which is our functional non-alcohol brand. So essentially, we aim to empower businesses in food service and retail sector to repurpose their food waste and loss. And we do have a very hefty goal to reduce global food loss by 1% by 2030.
Thank you, Travin. Thank you, all the panelists. So who's ready to talk about food waste now? So we'll start with Cristina.
Great. So first of all, I'm going to introduce a bit about what crowdfarming is. So crowdfarming, the most simple way to explain it is that it is an organic food marketplace. Through this marketplace, consumers can buy organic food, mainly fresh fruits and vegetables, but also extra virgin olive oil, cheese, pasta, and many other items directly from the farmers. But there's many more things behind it. And I'm going to start with a simple video that kind of explains the model, and then we can get deeper into how it was born and the challenge of food waste and how it's related to crowdfarming. Okay, so. Sorry, I think it started a bit. So basically what this is doing is comparing the crowdfarming supply chain and the traditional supply chain. Basically, as we see, from the orange and directly extended, instead of the traditional supply chain, Okay, so before going deeper into what crowdfarming is, I'm going to focus on the topic that brings us together today, that it's food waste and the need to transform the agri-food industry. So what is actually happening that there's so much need of change? Basically, on one hand, we as a population have been killing the soil that feeds us by injecting a lot of agrochemicals during the past 100 years. And the excuse to do this has been that if we don't use those chemicals, we wouldn't be able to feed the world. At the same time, 1/3 of the food produced globally is going to waste. So this kind of doesn't make sense. And we cannot blame the farmers of using all of these agrochemicals because it's understandable that being paid such low prices and harvesting with so much uncertainty, they shy away from the risk of converting to organic farming, a sometimes very expensive and lengthy process. So here in Europe, for example, it can take up to 3 years to get the label of organic, the certification. So on the one hand, we have farmers that are not paid fairly for what they're producing. We're killing the soils and therefore their capacity to retain water and to retain carbon. And we're reducing the biodiversity and creating a lot of food waste. So to put this into numbers, I think we're going to hear this number quite a lot today, but according to FAO, 1/3 of all food produced in the world is wasted from farm to fork. And the direct economic cost of food wastage of agricultural products based on producers' price only, it's about $750 billion US. So it's clear that there's a need to change this, and it's from this need of changing the things that crowdfarming was born. Basically, our founder and CEO, Gonzalo Úrculo, and his brother, Gabriel, they were farmers themselves, and they decided to do things a bit differently in their orange farm in Valencia, in Spain. First, they decided to sell directly to the consumer through an online platform with no intermediaries. Then instead of, and this is one of the most revolutionary parts, instead of farming the harvest and harvesting blindly without knowing the volume of demand and the price of sale, they decided to farm on demand through an adoption model. So basically in this model, what you do is you reserve a volume of produce that it's approximately what one tree produces. In the case of oranges, this is 80 kilos. And you reserve it in advance at the beginning of the season at a price that is fixed at the beginning by the farmer, by Gonzalo and his brother Gabi. The fruit is only picked from the tree whenever a consumer makes an order, and then it's sent in a super efficient way, without any storage or any artificial conservation methods. So in their farm and now in crowdfarming, the product waits on the tree, not in cooling chambers, not in storage. So let me give you as an example of what you saw in the video. An orange from Valencia, for example, to Germany takes 3-4 days maximum. And if someone from Berlin is going to the supermarket, probably the orange has been traveling around and waiting for 3 weeks. Then they decided to sell fruit in bulk. So they didn't discard any perfectly healthy fruit because it didn't meet some beauty standards. And this, of course, addresses directly the food waste problem. And then they gave a second life to fruit that wouldn't make the journey. So it's not because it's not ugly, but maybe it's going to go bad during the journey. And they have a very strict method of detecting this. And they turn it maybe into dry fruit, into teas, into marmalades, sauces, other things, and things that I probably were going to see with Chef Radhika today. So after a while, this model proved a complete success. All of the trees were already adopted, and it became clear that this could serve other farmers. So they had two ways of doing this. They could create a webpage for all of the other farmers that were asking for it and become kind of a marketing agency for farmers, or they could create a platform where all of these farmers could join and they could have the different services that they saw that were super beneficial for the business into one platform. So basically, this is what they did. They went with the second option. And crowdfarming basically is the model that Gonzalo and Gabi use in this farm, applied to 200 farmers that we have at the moment, giving the opportunity to farmers to sell directly to consumers and giving them the tools that they need. So basically, this is the marketplace, the logistics, the customer service in many different languages, and the marketing. And this allows them to become independent of global market conditions and prices that vary a lot across the season, and to set their own prices at the beginning of the season and focus on what they do best, that is farming, and we take the rest for us. So a part of benefiting farmers economically, because we're getting all of the intermediaries out of the supply chain and they're being able to set their own prices and plan ahead. We're professionalizing the rural economy because they are able to hire more concrete roles for their farm that we detect that are that could help them, and we are able to give them all of the services that maybe they didn't even detect that were necessary, right? We expanded the founders' mentality of the social fairness and sustainability that they apply to the original farm. So we audit all of the packaging, we audit the social conditions happening in the farm. And this model, as we have seen, directly tackles food waste. Because to focus more on the topic of food waste, the truth is that we see a lot of solutions that focus on the last part of the supply chain, that is consumer. And this is great because this is half of the food waste that is produced. So this is something we need to tackle. But we have decided to focus mainly on the first part, right? So the other 50%. So while we do raise awareness, of course, because we think it's super relevant amongst us, our consumers, around the topics of food waste through blog posts and other communications, we are most active at the beginning of the supply chain. So to sum up, as we've seen, like at the farm level, by farming on demand and ensuring the prices are fair, and it's worth it to harvest, because sometimes what happens is that the price is so low in the market that the farmers decide not even to harvest their product because it's not worth it for the price they're going to sell it. So with this, they are able to plan ahead and collect all of the food because they already know the price and they know it's worth it, right? Then across beyond the farm, across the supply chain, because we only harvest on demand. So what we pick from the tree already has a buyer. So it's not waiting somewhere for a price to be set. And the thing is that with fresh food, every day that passes, the clock is ticking, right? So it can become food waste. Selling fruit in bulk. So our consumers every day are changing their mentality that ugly food, it's perfectly healthy food too. And being super efficient in the journey. So, and then when the fruit vegetables reach, because we have, as I said at the beginning, a lot of products, reaches the consumer fresh in 3 days, it's going to last a lot longer in their houses. So to put this a bit into number, at the moment, as I said, we have around 200 farmers. We had over 300,000 consumers, and the number that I'm most proud of, we had around 200,000 adoptions. I think yesterday it was 223. Yeah. And our ambition is to keep increasing these 200,000 trees that have an owner or animals in some cases, because we also sell cheese. Keep increasing the numbers of adoptions in order to turn the agri-food supply chain completely around, so that we farm on demand, a system that makes sense for every actor in the process, including the environment, because for us it's win for the farmer, win for the consumer wins, but also the environment needs to be considered a main actor, knowing the key role that it plays in our lives, but especially in the agri-food industry, right? Because it's very much needed to get all of the products that we eat every day. So thank you very much. I don't know if you have any questions or yeah.
So I think we often don't think about that food waste happens before it even leaves the farm. So I think the fact that crowd farming is addressing, the beginning of the supply chain as opposed to when it gets to the consumer's hands. So I think that's pretty fascinating.
Yes, and we're trying to raise awareness around that topic because, yeah, I think sometimes it's just even not known. Yeah.
I have a question.
Of course.
Cristina, so, I had been to a conference on food, and the thing that you mentioned that we can actually feed people with organic food and with models like yours, right? So there is enough food being produced, and it can be, it is sufficient for us. Do you actually get that feeling when you're doing this? Do people push back and say, I want something that is you're not producing, so I have to go to somebody who's making it, in bulk or using cold storage? Or what are your thoughts on that? I'm very curious to know.
Yes. The model grew for us with citrix, going from Spain to Germany, basically. And we know that, and that was a perfectly profitable business. But we know that in order to actually meet our purpose, that it's turn the supply chain around, we need to keep expanding our portfolio. And this means going to peaches that they travel completely different way than oranges. They are there's a very different. They can go bad more easily and things like that. So we need to keep innovating and expanding our portfolio so that and bringing more farmers and more variety of farmers along in different countries in order to be able to change this around. Yeah, so at the moment, of course, we are not an alternative to a supermarket because we need to get a lot more products inside. We at the moment have 90 different products, but we need to make this bigger. Yeah, sometimes yeah.
So does this mean that actually we have to push back and create more local value chains? It can't be like, I'm importing wheat from Russia.
I am very careful when I talk about local because I know we cannot, and not in every country. In Spain, we're super lucky and we have a lot of different products, but not every country can eat local. They can, but some countries would be eating potatoes for a lot of months. So I think it's more about having a sustainable journey that I believe can be done, eating seasonally, reducing the amount of meat maybe that we eat. It's a lot of different levers that we need to pull and choosing wisely where we eat, knowing I believe that in crowd farming you can see the farmer that you're buying from. And I think the more we get close to how our product is being farmed, that's a very big part of the sustainability of it. Like being able to see that it's farmed in a sustainable way, that it's brought to you in a sustainable way, that it's avoiding food waste, that it's maximizing the journey. For example, we try that our trucks travel at full capacity. So we don't like we always say we don't like to transport air, and this is things like this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So once the food does get into the consumer's hand, like how do we, prevent food waste? So then I will have to circle back to Chef Radhika. Like as a restaurant owner, we understand that, a lot of food waste happens in the restaurant and hospitality industries. I think about 20 to 45% of food across the food service or retail is wasted every year. So how do you, as a chef and restaurant owner, help to reduce that food waste for the benefit of our planet and for your restaurant's bottom line?
So that actually took quite a long time for me. We started with, I think, quite a bit of waste. And what we started doing was we started measuring our bins at the end of every night. And after we started segregating our bins, we realized that this is not really waste. This is food. And this is not just food, this is an opportunity. And just by marketing it as food waste, we are killing maybe a lot of economics which would come into the restaurant. What we started doing then was we started creating like really fun products, really fun menu items which went onto the menu, and some of them are still on. Some of them are seasonal, so they come and they go. For example, we have one dish called the skinny chipping, which has been there for like past 5-6 years now. It's basically skins of all sorts of vegetables, which we kind of fry into chips, and we serve it with a cauliflower stalk puree. And it's a bestseller on the menu. Then we started using jackfruit seeds as a hummus, which would go into every burger. Watermelon rind relish, which would be served with sandwiches, etc. So it was not about, I think by the end of it, the consumer still does not think about food as food waste or food. They think about, like, when you're coming into a restaurant, you're not like, oh, let me eat a sustainable meal today. You're more like, hey, let me go out and have fun. I want to eat a delicious meal. And if I am able to provide that in a sustainable form, that's a win-win for the consumer. That's a win for me. I'm making money on something which would probably be built previously and is now, kind of a menu favorite. People can go back home and try it, because I'm the kind of chef who puts out everything, and my team gets really upset that I put out all the recipes online. But it is really, really important as well, because that's how you're going to spread the message. And I also actually feel that there's nothing so groundbreaking about food waste. We were always eating like that. There's just been like this gap, where we all got so busy, and there was no time for that slow life, slow food, where you would just sit with your grandmother, pot the peas, use the pea wrapper, and all those sort of things. But now I feel like there has to be a third way out. So can we make this more fun? Can this be like, can this not be, can food sustainability, etc., not be so marketed and packaged in such a way where like the regular person is afraid of it? You're just like, it must be too much. I'm sure it's the same for composting as well. Like the regular person is so scared that, oh my God, what is it that I'll have to do? But it's just something as simple as, how can I prolong the life of this lemon? If I store it in water, it's going to last me 3 months. If I store it just like that, it's going to last me maybe a week. So it's just simple things like that. Or what is edible, what is not. I may just like go on this like journey of, oh my God, I just want to like waste nothing, but am I finally like feeding people toxin? So all these things are like really, really important, and they should just be like a part of a regular conversation, and it should be fun. It should not be such a big deal, and it's just basically a change of perspective. Like, let's just try to do that. If you come to my restaurant, you eat something and you like it, if I tell you that, oh, it's made out of beetroot skin, you're probably going to be like, oh, I didn't think I could eat that. But you'll probably also go back home and tell somebody, and they'll probably make it for you. On that note, I'm gonna show you a small demo of orange marmalade, where we are also going to use the skin of the orange, which is usually wasted. Actually, I would like to also say that whenever you're using a citrus fruit, just take a microplane zester and just zest it out and use it just as you would regular citrus. And that way you can use the juice and the zest, making the most of your produce. Just gonna put this water to a boil. What I've done with the zest is that I've boiled it 3 times and then rinsed it in cold water. I'll show you. I'm going to start with adding jaggery to the water. Add some lemon juice. zest now. The orange. So orange zest actually has a lot of pectin, which will help the marmalade set. So you don't really need to add an additive to make that happen. And basically all we're going to do is let it simmer for another 10-15 minutes. We can have a conversation whilst we do this. And I'm also actually going to add coriander stock, which is left over from some coriander I had in the fridge, because why not? You could also add chilies, spices, anything you feel like. Just remember, scrappy makes me happy.
I love that, Chef. And going back to what you said, Chef, learning like what you can and cannot use. So are there any like fruit peels that it's probably not good for us if we eat it, or it's not tasty, like it has that bitterness?
I had a really fun example for you where I'm going to address something even slightly more important than food waste. That's resource waste. Whilst we try to reduce food waste, there is no way we should kind of add to wasting more resources. I've done it a few times. The last time I did it was with peanut leaves. I got some peanut leaves from my farmer, like they came with the peanuts. And I think I spent maybe a whole day in trying to get it to be what I wanted it to be. And by the end of it, I just realized I was totally not worth the energy, the water I spent on it, and all of those things. It was just so fibrous that sometimes it just makes more sense to compost than to, kind of try to make this happen, even though you know it's edible. So there are also things like that one must remember, and like you also have to understand that growing food actually uses a lot of resources as well, which is why I think we try to target food waste in first place.
That's a great point, because oftentimes, when we try to repurpose things, but we don't realize, all the energy we're using, the resources that, maybe it's best if we just compost it. But then that brings to, the point of, and when I hear about composting and I live in the city, I'm scared because I don't have a yard. So Poonam, like how would everyday people compost in the city?
It's very easy to do because now we have developed a additive that really keeps away all the smell. People are actually scared for two reasons. One is that it'll smell foul, and the other is that you'll get a lot of bugs. And the first point of smell is we've managed that with our additive that we've designed. In India also, there has been a history of change. Like all of you guys are talking about education, and education is so important to change mindset of the consumer. And like Radhika says, people actually don't want to do extra work. When they go for a meal, they're not looking at sustainability. So when you say composting is something you're doing as a sustainable act, that's not a hook for people to actually get into it. So the answer to that is you can do it, but there will be some amount of bugs. And will the bugs come out into your home? It depends on which city you're living in, which part of the world, because we have a composter. Our composter is sitting in the States in a place which is very cold, and the guy keeps it just outside in his balcony. There you seem to have different kinds of bugs, and in India we have different kinds of bugs. So, but most of the bugs in composting are actually very harmless bugs. They are the harmless bugs. So then we talk about how there are harmful bugs and harmless bugs. Like we've now learned after COVID, over sanitization is also bad for our health, right? You can't surround yourself with this complete sterile environment. It's not good for your gut. It's not good for your immune system. It's not good for your own long-term health. So I think we are relearning what maybe like Radhika says, there was wisdom before about, how do you look after your health in a slightly more organic, natural way. So yeah, composting is difficult, and that's our mission is how do we make it cool? How do we make it fun? And how do we show people that this is the way you save soil? I mean, coming back to what Cristina says, we've ruined our soils. And so people ask us, I don't have a garden, why should I compost? Say, boss, that's a good problem to have. To have extra compost is like having a bank balance. You're not upset that you have more money in your bank, right? So you should not be upset that you have good soil with you. You can go out, put it in the park. You can go out, put it in front of your neighborhood tree. You can trade it on Facebook because there are lots of other people who are gardeners. So all those, the barriers that people say, this is why I will not do this, or this is what I have a problem with, we try and address through our education, through our constant, we recreate the same message in new forms so that people can feel that, yeah, this is fresh. Okay, this I understand, or this makes sense to me. So this is actually the hardest bit, because composting is waste, right? Food, at least people are interested in. But when you have that 60% of waste lying in your house, the first thing you want to do is throw it out. And the whole city throwing this out, you don't see that because it's out of sight, out of mind, and you're not able to see that big picture.
And then aside from composting and scrap cooking, I noticed that there's been a trend on upcycling food, like repurposing food into a complete new product. So I know Travin with CRUST Group, that's your mission, to cut food waste by churning food waste into a completely different, in your case, beer and sparkling water. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, sure. I've enjoyed today's session so far because like every one of us share very similar ethos but very different solutions, right? So I've actually been learning a lot from the other three ladies here. But yeah, I guess where I come from is, so Cristina mentioned earlier that a lot of us are not fortunate enough that we have a lot of produce, right? In terms of where we stay at. Singapore is such a small place, right? We import 95% of our produce, right? The government is trying to do a 30 by 30 rule right now, which means they want to produce and consume 30% of our produce locally, right? So a lot of what we do is not so much on the innovation regarding R&D. It is actually a lot more on the supply chain innovation, right? People look at an upcycled beverage and they don't know how to scale, right? But it's not just that. Like we upcycle a lot of our locally grown produce, right? Like bread and rice into beer, right? But we don't just focus on upcycling. We actually started adopting because the company essentially is not necessarily just focusing on upcycling. We are focusing on producing the way we manufacture beverage, right? For the better, right? It just so happens that we started with beer and we started with upcycling, right? As we continue in our journey and we learned more about what the market lacks and what the market needs, right? Then we have even started using locally grown botanicals as our hop substitute. Hops is what goes into beer and it brings like the whole aroma and the bitterness and the citrusy sort of notes, right? In Singapore, we don't grow hops, right? It's mostly grown in the UK, US, New Zealand, Australia, etc. Right? So we import all this, but we managed to actually I think we have identified around 11 different botanicals, and we used it as a hop substitute, and it actually turned out it's still a really good beer, right? So yes, environmentally, I am helping out, right? But it also made more sense for me from a business standpoint, from an economic standpoint, because if I can build a hyper-local model, right? That means upcycling and also using locally grown produce to replace your traditional raw materials, right? I'm also building a more resilient supply chain around my business, right? When there's a supply chain shortage or problem, right, I don't have to worry in the future, right? But it is that whole initial process, right, where it's super, super difficult, that people don't want to take that step, right? Everybody wants to make money the fastest way, and that's why people think what I'm doing is completely new, but it's not, right? The Egyptians have upcycled bread and made it into beer many years ago, right? It's just that we have moved so far away from reality that we need to now take a step back, bring reality back, right? But with a more modern twist. And that's essentially what I'm doing. Yeah, and as we grow, we started understanding what different markets need, right? And what we have, like Singapore have very different produce and needs, right, compared to Japan, which is another market that we're in, right, compared to Taiwan, right? So each market that we're in, we adopt accordingly. But it shares a similar ethos of upcycling and also using locally grown produce as much as possible, right? And a lot of people have this conversation around food waste, and they always feel like it's a very boring conversation, right? So where we are coming from is like what Chef Radhika mentioned, right? Like essentially is to come in and say that food waste can be fun, right? It doesn't have to be all about it doesn't have to be about machinery and like a lot of other stuff, right? But it can be something that you enjoy on a daily basis as well, right? But I would love to start, I guess, having our product and scaling in such a way where I can keep my costs low, and have it for the wider economy, right, and wider population, because I would like for people who don't believe in sustainability to try my product, right? Because it's a damn good product, right? And it also doesn't cost much. Yeah, so that's another viewpoint of what we have, right, in terms of scaling up and like focusing a lot on supply chain right now.
So can we all agree that the solution to food waste, reducing food waste, is the circular food movement, where we have to work together as a producer, a distributor, and a consumer? And if that's the case, like, how can we get everybody on board on this movement?
I guess I can jump in here. So that's definitely true. But I think at the end of the day, right, everything still has to bow down to like taste and cost, right? People will need to. It needs to be affordable for the wider consumer as well. So that's the most important part. And a lot of companies also have one solution, and then through that solution, right, yes, they are helping the environment, but they still have a lot of byproducts as well, right? And they don't tap on or try to maximize those byproducts, right? And that becomes a detriment to the environment. Yeah. So I guess another standpoint from where we come from at CRUST Group is that when you make beer, for example, you have the byproducts of beer, and it's called spent grain, right? And right now, most people in Singapore actually just either trade away or they donate it as animal feed. But because we have a food scientist in the company, and we have actually even converted that into a pancake mix, for example. Yeah, and we are now also identifying what other sort of solutions we can actually bring to that spent grain. Because even though you extract the sugars to convert it into alcohol and you don't have the sugar anymore, but it's still highly nutritional. It's very high in protein and fiber, right? So what else can you do with it? So we are trying our best on to make it as circular as possible.
Yeah, I completely agree with Travin. I think if we want to bring this movement forward, we cannot only address the people that can afford food at high prices and the people that are already concerned with sustainability. We need to go further. And how do we do this? Like, we have to keep an eye on the prices. I think this cannot be only a premium product if we really want to change the supply chain around. And we need to find a way to attract people and to raise awareness across everyone, like not only the ones that, like the pioneers on opening their eyes on what is happening, but how do we reach all of the others to really make an impact here.
So we had an interesting, we did an experiment. We had people who worked with child health in the villages. They found that mothers were not feeding the right nutrition to young babies, and young babies need critical nutrition at the time of growth from 0 to 5. And so, the people who are working with health, plus the people who are working with science and technology in that region, they contacted us and said, is there some way we can give them all free composters, and which the mothers would then build a kitchen garden only, a local kitchen garden, which has a lot more spinach and tomato and some key things, and they were taught how to grow them. And because farm work, they were finding that because of migration, the women were having too much of farm labor dependent on them. So they were neglecting their own little kitchen gardens that they used to actually grow. And that would be their nutrition. So then that composter became a symbol for them to reignite that kitchen garden. And they found that nutrition cycle really helped the growth and the health of that area. So while we're talking about circularity, we also have to look at local systems and self-reliance structures that are already there in certain cultures, and then see how the positive deviance in that can be nurtured and by either through governmental work or through even like your crowd farming thing, if it's applicable in India. I mean, we have lots of models like that in India also. But how do we then tell the story in a way that food then becomes something that is your right, that you can grow it, and good healthy food is your basic right, and seed sovereignty is your basic right. So to tell that story from the angle of self-reliance and good health, for your local community, for your all of that. I just have a question. I said, how many of you have in your picture, what does a composter look like?
I have one at home. I used to work in waste management, so that's an easy one for me.
So is it made out of plastic? Does it look like a bucket?
Yep.
Can I just show you ours? I just want to share screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges when we started, right, was that everybody felt that waste was dirty and it's like a dustbin. So I just want to quickly show you our composter. This is our India's first home composter that we designed. And we designed it using craft skills. At that time, and it's what is sad to say, is after 15 years, we've lost those craft skills. This is our composter, our signature composter that we first designed for India. That was 15 years ago. And at that time, we had potters who were skilled enough to make this product. So that this doesn't look like a dustbin, right? So this was where, when we talk about how do we get people to get interested in our area, because it's the end of this chain, right? It's the end of your food chain. People don't want to touch it. Water, education, health, all of that are more critical in India. Waste is not. Waste is the last priority. And waste is connected to all our soil, because the amount of emissions that we have in India are immense, and the pollution we have. So we had to create a product that completely challenged the notion of the dustbin. But now, 15 years down the line, we've lost potter skills. So India doesn't have potter skills. But the interesting thing is, this has been, this particular, our whole range of terracotta products have been copied all across the world. And we've had open source licenses with lots of places where they have actually taken our designs and they've built them.
I think going back to Poonam, your question, what does composting look like? For me, I can say that, it looks like soil to me, because I know that we can, sprinkle compost onto trees, and that's actually really good, healthy for the plants. So, and I know that, some people have used compost to make, playgrounds, like sandboxes, for quote unquote boxes for children. So I think, our traditional thinking of what compost is, like you said, it's dirty, it's attracts bugs. I think that, that's something that we need to, kind of educate the public, maybe people who don't typically know what composting is. They've heard of it, because it's very trendy, but they're not sure, how can I implement that in my own home?
Yeah. So today we have 80,000 families actually using our products, and they collectively keep 60,000 plus kilos of organic waste out of landfill daily. And this is with no cost to government. So the government's actually very happy.
So Chef Radhika, we've been watching you stirring away your marmalade. It looks delicious.
Thank you. It'll still need some time because then it has to cool and, do food things to itself.
So I have a question about food. So I know that we often go by the labels on our food packaging, so, and then as a consumer, I'm always confused by, the best date or expired by or used before. So I don't know, like you as a as a trained chef, do you follow those dates, or what is your system?
So I'll tell you how it is at home versus how it is in the restaurant. In the restaurant, you can't really take a chance. So, but at home, I personally feel like we should use our five senses before we consider a best before date. They're just directives, they're not guidelines. It's maybe, yeah, if for example, we're talking about coriander powder, maybe a little bit of the fragrance would be lost, but it's not like, it can go off, or salt for that matter. There's so many times I read a best before on a salt and I'm just like, how? But they're there, and they're probably there because of public policies, etc. And I think that's where governments need to step in. And and then there's the supermarket culture, and then we all know about the waste created in a supermarket, where you even see stuff like washing powder, detergent, etc., lying in bins, which they will not distribute around, which will have to be thrown out, otherwise they won't be paid back for it. And then that's how it all circles back. But as far as consumers are concerned, I personally feel that they should just be looked at as directives and not as guidelines. So I would not personally think that a best before date. However, an expiry date, on the other hand, you should take very seriously, because that's where an expert is telling you that this is the date you need to stop consuming this. So yeah, they're really different, and I think that both are really important.
So we're almost coming to the top of the hour, and I know we have, audience joining us. Feel free to put in your questions either in chat or unmute yourself. I think we can all agree that, this is a topic, that we're very passionate about, and then we can talk about for hours and hours. But just some closing statements from each of our panelists. What's the takeaway of, reducing food waste, having a sustainable, economy, circular movement?
I can go. I actually think that all of us kind of had the same message, where we were saying that this is something which we always did, and we just need to do it again, but we just need to do it in a really different format, because times have changed. And can we use technology like your new composter? It looks amazing, and I feel like, it is something which is super cool. Or can I would love a beer right now, honestly. And if it is delicious, why should I really care whether it is made out of waste? It's better, right? And I think that's how, by creating these fun products, is how we can get other people on board as well. And I think that's what our joint thing was today.
Yeah, I will go next. For me, I guess the message I would like to, inform is we at CRUST, we go about with the vision and the mission that the future of food should be more collaborative and less competitive, right? A lot of the problems that we face right now is because of competition, right? Everybody just wants to compete and cut each other out, right? So why not adopt a more collaborative model moving forward, right? So even at CRUST, at the initial stage, we only started making products for ourselves, and we had to sell in the market. And then we were like, okay, why are we doing that, right? A lot of other F&B, large F&B groups, a lot of hotels, supermarkets, right? They all have their own ways right now. So why not build a very collaborative business model? And then we shifted our business model entirely to a collaboration. So we started building a model called SUL, Sustainable Unique Label. And essentially it's me coming into supermarket A and saying, okay, you have all this bread, why not upcycle it? We will come and help you upcycle it, and we'll create a product for you. So we started building products for other hotels, bigger F&B groups, supermarket, right? So a fun collaboration where everybody is helping one another to upcycle and reduce food waste, but they also have their own product right now that they can be a bit more excited about. They can be a bit more creative in terms of marketing and branding, and then they can sell to their own consumers. So that will be essentially my message today.
Go. I think composting does two things in my experience. A, that it makes you more Buddha-like because it's really a slow process. Composting takes 25, 45 days to really happen. And the other thing is it really reminds you that food and nature is circular. There's no doubt about it, because while you're composting, you can see a bean sprout, you can see a tomato go up, and you can see the change, right? People when we show them both those ways to compost, and they say, how did this become this? And that is such a, for me, cognitively, a clear closing of the loop thing. So I would, I think I keep telling people, the only thing I say, please compost, because you will learn so much. You're denying yourself a huge life experience if you don't compost.
Yes, so what I would like to get out of today is and yeah, in every conversation around these topics that I have is for people to challenge things. Like if you read in the newspaper that farmers are not being paid enough, why is this? Can my actions have an impact on that? Because probably they can. And I think this started, the whole crowd farming community started because a farmer decided that things weren't working as they should, and there was not a new way to do this. And I think this is what we need to do every day, like take everything that we see that it's not working and seeing how my actions can have an impact on that every day. And do I have, as a consumer or in my business, a way to do things differently? Yeah.
Thank you, panelists. And I think through more conversations like this one we had today, it brings awareness to everybody. And then I think through innovations, as we can see, with Daily Dump and with CRUST Group, that we can really make a change in this movement. And then Chef Radhika, is there a final showing of our marmalade?
Yes, I took a bite before I showed you.
I wish we can all taste it. It just looks so delicious.
Wait, here you go.
Radhika, is there a reason why you boil and or wash it 3 times or boil it 3 times, the rind?
Only to remove the bitterness. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I must have missed it. I didn't see the marmalade.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, no worries. Well, this has been a very insightful conversation. So I want to thank you to all the panelists and to all the audience who tuned in today. And thank you to the World Food Forum team for helping to organize this event. And then we do have a part 2 of our Sustainable Gastronomy Day programming in a few hours. So tune in for that one as well. And then if there's any last words, I think we're just gonna say goodbye to everybody here. I know we're all tuning in from different time zones, so I really appreciate everyone for taking the time, especially our panelists today.